the topic of science communication. So we will see the introduction of science communication. So it is the scientific approach to the adventurous and yet critical temper of science, the search for truth and new knowledge, the refusal to accept anything without testing and trial, the capacity to change previous conclusions in the face of new evidence, the reliance on observed fact and not on preconceived theory, the hard discipline of all the mind. All this is necessary. This is said by Mr. Jawaharlal Nehru. The concept of scientific communication is scientific temper. It is a way of life of an individual and social process of thinking and acting which uses a scientific method which may include questioning, observing physical reality, testing, hypothesizing, analyzing and communicating. Scientific temper describes an attitude which involves the application of logic. Discussion, argument and analysis are vital parts of scientific temper. Elements of fairness, equality and democracy are also built into it. The word science originates from scientia, a Latin word. It denotes a special and systematic knowledge. It only allows the predictable and reliable outcome, emphasizing skill, proper method and technique based on observation and experiments. The classification of science is that basic science. It depicts civic scientific knowledge and focuses on the study of natural world. The second one is applied science or engineering science. This is purely technical in nature. Scientific application and many engineering related matter get focused. Social sciences. This focuses on the society behavior. It is a methodological lessons of human behavior and social dynamics. Next, we will see about sense and science. India has launched 77 Indian satellites as of 28th March 2015. First step was taken in 1975. The very recent satellite is IRNSS-1D, experimented on 28th March 2015. It is the fourth satellite in the Indian Regional Navigation Satellite System. It is a big irony we are not still been able to get out of the clutches of believing in the powers of the stones on fingers and blindly to support all kinds of superstition. We usually stop the car whenever a cat crosses the road. The society mirrors the fact that these blind faiths cannot bring growth and development in society in terms of politics, economic, culture. The civilization is obeying the slavery. Next, we will define the science communication. Science communication is to communicate and to acquaint the common masses with scientific knowledge, aiming to inculcate scientific temper among the common level. Basically, the two words, science and communication, depicts together communicating science from known to unknown. T.W. Burns, D.J. O'Connor, S.M. Stockheimer define the term science communication, a contemporary definition in the journal Public Understanding of Science. Science communication is defined as the use of appropriate skills, media, activities and dialogue to produce one or more of the following personal responses to science: awareness, enjoyment, interest, opinion forming and understanding. Use of various media aiming to talk about science from scientists to non-scientists. Science communication generally refers to media aiming to talk about science with non-scientists, but those who make it are not necessarily scientists. They can have different backgrounds. Scientists communicating to one another, for example, through scholarly journal articles, is a form of science communication, but the term is usually applied to more public-facing work. It includes science exhibitions, science journalism, science policy, and science media production, etc. It is sometimes done by professional scientists, but has evolved into a professional field in its own right. Science communication needs the heartfelt effort of science communicators to drag a change in the society. A relationship should be built up between common public and science, which indeed is very important for all total society development. Need of science communication. Science communicators work in many areas in diverse media and with diverse precedents, but all will need to light up science in the context of a changing and challenging world. Except confident in comprehension of science subjects, the students want to go for either arts or commerce. Most of the common men want to escape from the science. They claim science is not that much easy to understand. But this cannot be denied that science is very much necessary for common masses. From the above reference, we should think that the science background people not feel any problem from science. No, not at all. Doctors admit very spontaneously that they know nothing about engineering. Even the person from chemist background may not know computer science or botany. So if science background having people do not know each other subject, then we must think about the situation of a lay person. Here we need science communication, and here the strong effort of science communication is felt. Sometimes the detailed description of scientific method cannot be possible, but it is possible to give brief input from the scientific work in favor of value of scientific knowledge. Even within science there are expert and laymen. The same goes for the rest of society. Considering the condition of general people, we can say that everyone can only be an expert in few fields, and those people feel themselves as laymen in other fields. Scientific temperament and thinking run the society smoothly. It helps to develop. Scientific approach needs rational thinking. Science is our culture. All kind of curiosity can be sorted out only based on scientific approach. We are by nature very curious. Curiosity needs satisfactory answer. Then only possible when it is based on scientific approach. Otherwise, it may turn into superstition. Curiosity gives birth to scientific inventions and discoveries. On the other hand, science helps to take decisions in our life. Science does not mean laboratory activities. Practical and civic science fulfills the goal of society to develop in real manner. And for everything, the common people need to know about science and utilization of science in a correct manner according to their need. Science communication, especially science journalism, sometimes cannot achieve its aimed goal due to various reasons, such as lack of in-depth study, lack of proper technical support, and lack of sustained financial backup by the media house. On the other hand, most of them think that to become science communicator, science background is necessary. So the indifference to become a science communicator. It is wrong conception. Up to matriculation, the level of science can help us to fulfill our aspiration to be the same. Common people feel it very hard to understand. The presentation style and presentation of science content indeed is seen incomprehensible at common platform. In contrast, journalists complete their duties by putting the information only, by not taking care of common understanding level. On the contrary, the scientists always want to remain aloof from the society. They do not want to communicate because they are afraid of plagiarism, and their invention may be misused or misinterpreted by the journalists. So they concentrate on the scientific journal to express their views and the fact on their invention or research work. It is very obvious that those journals do not reach the periphery of common masses. To get rid of fear from every side, from common people, from scientists, from untrained journalists, we need proper science communicators. Fear of science will be wiped out, then only science and media will sit together. Objectives of science communication. After independence, the Government of India adopted the first ever scientific policy resolution on 4th March 1958. It is to popularize science at common platform and to inculcate the scientific temper among common masses. When science gets effective communication approach, then only it achieves its goal. The value of science and its existence at that time is worth. Objectives of communication. It is to inform, to educate the people, to enlighten the path from unknown to known, to create a debate, to start conversation, to prepare common public to accept the change, to involve the general public, to encourage participatory communication for common goal, to provide critical investigation and analysis, to bridge up the gap among the scientists, non-scientists and public. The 5 vowels which are commonly used in science communication are attentiveness, eagerness, interest, opinion forming, and understanding. Thus, we commonly say AEIOU, the five vowels should be used by the appropriate skills, media activities, and dialogue in science communication. So, existence of science communication is portrayed by exhibition, posters, live programming, leaflets or booklets or books, through information technology, through CD-ROMs, lectures, cultural programs, hands-on activities, audio programs, field-based projects, internet, trainings, telephone, public consultations or debates via various mass media and science cartoons. Science communicators need to know use of language is effective tool, the coordination among language, values and knowledge, style of discussion or conversation with the target audience, metaphorical situations which include purpose, audience, occasion and genre, modes of effective communication such as logical, ethical, emotional appeals, techniques of debate as well as the way to present himself or herself, required communication skill. Science communicator communicates with media, regional or national or international level, with the government, center or state, with industry, with common masses, with the world. The idea is to develop scientific temper. Is one of the fundamental duties of Indian citizens according to the Constitution of India. The strategy of science communication in India is to identification of a problem, situation analysis in the same context, actors and knowledge attitude practice, key factor analysis, fixing an effective communication approach, the participation of strategic groups, selection of worthy medium or media according to need, knowledge about marketing mix, effective design of message to disseminate, ultimate media production, media performance and field implementation, fixed documentation and process monitoring, evaluation or assessment on work done, redesign the program or affair to get ultimate success. The strategy must follow SMART approach. SMART means specific content should be disseminated. M for measurable, the content or the outcome of the content should be measurable in terms of quantity, quality, frequency, cost, deadliness, etc. It should be achievable. The content should show achievable goal in terms of opportunity and resources. It should be relevant. There is no place for irrelevant content and context. It should be time oriented. All messages based on science content should focus the periphery in terms of time. Strategic communication should be a strategy provides answers to what, why and who, but a plan concentrates more on when and how. Outcome oriented, based on science only, target audience oriented, participatory communication approach, advantage and assistance oriented, better to link with multimedia, use of sound technology, patronizing society development. It needs practical sustainability. It also needs cost effectiveness. 7 A's in science communications. Audience. Need to identify target audience and their characteristics. Action. Science communication should not only be effective but also action based. Availability. Enough availability of information on required theme. Accessibility. Common people should get the reach of the science based content in terms of media access and in terms of comprehensive level. Affordability. The selection of media for science communication should maintain the level of common affordability in the society. Acceptability. As the society is not free from age-old tradition, belief and custom, the way of presentation of science content should encourage any conflict rather than it should be convincing. Assistance. Community participation encourages the success of science communication. Science writing should follow 6 P's. Those are planning. Planning means selection of theme. Preparation, which means background research. Pre-testing, which means to write, rewrite and edit our ideas. Perfect media use. Selection of effective media to reach required target and audience. Production, which means final write-up for print or to broadcast. Process of evaluation. Assess the impact of the writing and accept the appreciation as well as criticism for further development. So, the structure of a science news story must be, it should include the headline, it should include the byline or credit line, it should include the lead or introduction, it should include the deadline, it should include the body, and it should include the conclusion. The inverted pyramid style is also most popular in science communication. Therefore, most significant is placed first, or intro, lead, critical information. Less significant or bodies placed second, and least significant such as conclusion or conclusion to is placed at the least. It is preferable to follow the inverted pyramid style to write a science content like news story. Basically, for our news stories, it is more used, though sometimes in case of soft or feature stories, this style is followed according to the need of the creativity. There are 3 parts: introduction, lead, body, and tail or conclusion. The most important point is covered in the first part, that is introduction, by following 5W1H. The second part is body, where all the due explanation will be written on the particular topic or theme. The last part is conclusion, where the opinion of writer and less important information are carried out. The presentation of news depends upon either time in case of audio or audio-visual media, or space in case of print media or internet. So this method of writing helps to edit the story easily. From the last part, with the unimportant point can be cut down according to the space or time. Language for science writing. Lucid and simple language is preferable most. Small paragraph with short sentences is most effective. One idea or one theme should be focused in one story, otherwise the readers will be confused. Complex words, scientific jargon, technical incomprehensible word, metaphors, unnecessary adjectives will be avoided. To make the sentences short and direct, active voice should be used. It is always better to spell the numeric number. For example, instead of writing 9, we can write 9. Age, address, job description like important should be used very carefully. While reproducing speech directly, place it within double quotes, unlike in the headline where it is placed in single quotes. Sometimes we can write full sentences in direct speech, or also write just significant words or phrases in direct speech. The time element in a news story is very important. News stories about events that have already taken place are written in the past tense. Present tense is often used in order to emphasize timelines. For news stories that speak about events that will take place in the future are expressed by the use of auxiliary verb will come, will speak, or will arrive, etc. Guidelines for scientific writing. Structure planning, knowledge on readers, and selection of words are 3 basic key concepts of scientific writing. Use of brief but interesting and relevant words are necessary. Rejection of repetition and acceptance of economically sound expression justify the scientific writing. It needs clear thinking and clarity in information dissemination. Use of simple word is considered as an art where there is no place for pretentious or showy presentation. Short and tight sentences satisfy the common comprehensive level more. Correct grammar, correct spelling, and proper sentence construction decrease the problem more. Tense should be according to media. Fashion must not overlap or hamper the aim of creation due to uncertain existence. Use of own words in correct manner with understandable explanation enhance the quality of scientific writing. Use of good dictionary widens the scope of enriched word stock. Avoidance of technical jargon is very significant step with compatible description as substitute. Ambiguity creates confusion in reader's mind. The paragraph should follow a smooth flow. Subjectivity hardly gets preference. Always fact matters, no matter what the intuition or emotion supports. Especially in case of audio or audio-visual media, words should be picked up from daily life interaction to make majority people easily understand. Most of the time, if possible, less use of dependent clauses and clumsy inversion should be encouraged. Audio media supports descriptive style because of its several limitations. Speech rhythm should be maintained. Program content should carry element of knowness. In radio, one idea per sentence is the thumb rule. Instead of figures in decimal or point, round off figures for convenience is preferable. Various formats of science program in audio or audio-visual media. News. Common information dissemination in the common news format where news reader reads the information with straightforward manner without any art or creativity. Newsreel. It is a news presentation approach embracing all aspects. For example, yesterday a train accident has happened. For today it is a hard news. With the main information, the experience of victim, description of eyewitness opinion from ruling political leaders can be included along with the natural sound effect, live commentaries, etc. The real time as well as real situation talk and discussion give the information more authenticity with more trust. The daily news reel of 15 or more minutes duration is a popular form of news broadcasting. Common report. Common report means an event gets detailed coverage according to its importance. For example, a radio station can broadcast a report on the Indian Science Congress, Indian Science Communication Congress, National Children's Science Congress. Science documentary. Documentary provides science content with pictures and interviews along with people involvement in real events to provide a factual report. Science features. Science feature is actually a newspaper or magazine based article or a broadcast program devoted to the treatment of science content, typically at length. Science magazine. Audio or audio visual programs with interview style information audio or AV content. The category may be talk, interview on the spot report, eyewitness accounts of scientific events or commentaries, etc. G. Science drama. A specific mode of fiction represented in performance with science content. It means to do or to act, which explores or expresses the emotion. Interview. An interview is a process of interaction where a person asks questions to a person or group of persons. In this context, the content must be on science to elicit facts or statements from the interview. Feedback. An interview in which an average person is asked for his or her opinion on science matter of general interest. Sometimes face to face, sometimes it is done by overphone. Science communication organizations in India. NCSDC, the National Council for Science and Technology Communication. It's a division in the Department of Science and Technology, Government of India. It endeavors to communicate science and technology, stimulates scientific and technological temper, and coordinates and facilitates the initiatives at various levels. It has a mandate to create excitement and generate awareness about advances in science and technology to enable informed decision making at grassroots level. It takes science and technology to among various target groups and encourages intelligent debates on topic and development issues which need science and technology based information. Vigyan Prasar is an autonomous organization under Department of Science and Technology. Objectives of Vigyan Prasar are to take up large-scale science popularization tasks or activities, to promote and propagate scientific and rational outlook, to act as a resource cum facility center for science and technology communication. BP was established in 1989. Indian Council of Medical Research. It is responsible for the formulation, management, coordination and endorsement of biomedical research. It is one of the oldest and largest medical research bodies in the world. The Indian Research Fund Association was renamed as the Indian Council of Medical Research. ICMR research priorities are to control and manage communicable diseases, family planning and fertility control, treatment and research on maternal and child health, control of malnutrition, encouraging and continuing alternative strategies for healthcare delivery, containment within safety limits of environmental, occupational health problems, research on major non-communicable diseases like cancer, cardiovascular diseases, blindness, diabetes and other metabolic and hematological disorders, drug-related research emphasizing traditional remedies. Activities. Extramural research is promoted by ICMR by establishing centers for advanced research in different research areas around existing expertise and infrastructure in selected departments of medical colleges, universities and other non-ICMR research institutes. The ICMR also funds task force studies which emphasize a time-bound, goal-oriented approach with clearly defined targets, specific time frames, standardized and uniform methodologies, and often a multi-centric structure. Open-ended research is conducted on the basis of applications for grants in aid received from scientists in non-ICMR research institutes, medical colleges and universities located in different parts of the country. In addition to research activities, the ICMR encourages human resource development in biomedical research through research fellowships, short-term visiting fellowships, short-term research studentships, and various training programs and workshops conducted by ICMR institutes and headquarters. For retired medical scientists and teachers, the Council offers the position of Emirates of Scientists to enable them to continue or take up research on specific biomedical topics. The Council also awards prizes to Indian scientists in recognition of significant contributions to biomedical research. Indian Space Research Organization. ISRO is the primary space agency of the Indian government. ISRO is among the 6 largest government space agencies in the world, along with NASA, RKA, ESA, CNSA and JAXA. Its primary objective is to advance space technology, use its application for national benefit. Established in 1969, ISRO superseded the erstwhile Indian National Committee for Space Research. Headquartered in Bangalore, ISRO is under the administrative control of the Department of Space, Government of India. ISRO has achieved numerous milestones since its establishment. India's first satellite, Aryabhatta, was built by ISRO and launched by the Soviet Union in 1975. Rohini, the first satellite to be placed in orbit by an Indian-made launch vehicle, SLV-3, was launched in 1980. ISRO subsequently developed 2 other rockets, the Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle for putting satellites into polar orbits and the Geosynchronous Satellite Launch Vehicle for placing satellites into geostationary orbits. These rockets have launched numerous communication satellites, Earth observation satellites, and in 2008, Chandrayaan-1, India's first mission to Moon. Over the years, ISRO has conducted a variety of operations for both Indian and foreign clients. ISRO's satellite launch capability is mostly provided by indigenous launch vehicles and launch sites. In 2008, ISRO successfully launched its first lunar space probe, Chandrayaan-1, while future plans include indigenous development of GSLV, manned space vessels, further lunar exploration and interplanetary probes. Defense Research and Development Organization. The Defense Research and Development Organization is an agency of the Republic of India responsible for the development of technology for use by the military, headquartered in New Delhi, India. It was formed in 1958 by the merger of the Technical Development Establishment and the Directorate of the Technical Development and Production with the Defense Science Organization. DRDO has a network of 52 laboratories which are deeply engaged in developing defense technologies covering various fields like aeronautics, armaments, electronic and computer sciences, human resource development, life sciences, materials, missiles, combat vehicles development, and naval research and development. The organization includes more than 5,000 scientists and about 25,000 other scientific, technical, and supporting personnel. Defense Research Laboratory Tezpur had its humble beginning as field laboratory, a small research cell on the DR.M.GOPI Kanpur on 21st November, just after October 1962. The initial charter of the laboratory was to provide storage or outdoor exposure trials for developed products under the prevailing hot and humid climate of northeastern India. On subsequent development, the laboratory gained momentum with independent research and development assignments for the benefit of troops deployed in the strategically important region. In October 1980, it became a fully fledged research and development laboratory and was renamed as Defense Research Laboratory. The vision of DRDO is to be a leader in developing technologies for human health, environment and agriculture for Northeast region. Its mission is to develop technologies unique to local environment in the field of health and hygiene and judicious utilization of local resources for the benefit of the region. The next one is Indian Council for Agriculture Research. The Indian Council of Agriculture Research is an autonomous organization under the Department of Agriculture Research and Education, Ministry of Agriculture, Government of India. Formerly known as Imperial Council of Agriculture Research, it was established on 16th July 1929 as a registered society under the Societies Registration Act 1960 in pursuance of the report of the Royal Commission on Agriculture. The ICAR has its headquarters at New Delhi. The Council is the apex body for coordinating, guiding and managing research and education in agriculture, including horticulture, fisheries and animal sciences in the entire country. SITE was a project launched in rural India in 1975, designed jointly by NASA and the Indian Space Research Organization, supported by various international agencies such as UNDP, UNESCO, UNICEF and ITU. The television programs were produced by All India Radio and broadcast by NASA's SAT-S6 satellite station. These sets were specially designed by Indian engineers with help from NASA. The objective is to educate the poor people of India on various issues via satellite broadcasting and also to help India gain technical experience in the field of satellite communications. To study the potential of TV as a medium of development, the villagers were chosen specifically for their backwardness to show with an experiment to use advanced technology to fulfill the socio-economic needs of the country. Duration of SITE from 1st August 1975 to 31st July 1976. Village selection. According to the 1971 census of India, the states Orissa, Bihar, Andhra Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, having the most number of backward districts in the country, were selected for the project. SITE was launched in 20 districts spread across the other 6 states. Each of the states thus selected was called a cluster. In each cluster, 3 to 4 districts, each containing around 1,000 villages, were identified. Around 400 villages were chosen in each cluster. Close to 80% villages selected for SITE did not have electricity in the buildings where the SITE TV sets would be installed. A special project called Operation Electricity was launched to urgently electrify the villages before the start of SITE. 150 villages would have television sets running on solar cells and batteries. Programming. All India Radio did the programming generation. The programs were produced according to languages spoken in particular area. 2 types of programs were prepared for broadcasting: educational television for school children, instructional television for adult audience, mainly for illiterates. ETV programs were aimed in interesting and creative educational programs. These programs were broadcast for 1.5 hours during school hours. During holidays, this time was used to broadcast teacher training programs designed to train almost 1 lakh primary school teachers during the duration of the SITE. The ITV programs were broadcast for 2.5 hours during the evenings. The programs covered health, hygiene, family planning, nutrition, improved practices in agriculture, and events of national importance. Thus, the programs were beamed for 4 hours daily in 2 transmissions. Target audience. The targeted audience was categorized into 4 linguistic groups: Hindi, Oriya, Telugu, and Kannada. Due to linguistic and cultural differences, it was agreed that all core programs would be cluster specific and would be in the primary language of the region. A brief commentary giving the gist of program would be available on the second audio channel to keep up the interest of the audience in other language regions. All clusters would also receive 30 minutes of common programs, including news, which would be broadcast only in Hindi. The impact for the entire year includes thousands of villagers gathered around the TV set and watched the shows. In the studies on the social impact of experimental and on viewership trends, it was found that general interest and viewership were highest in the first few months of the program and then declined gradually. The impact on the rural population was highest in the fields of agriculture and family planning. Nearly 52% of viewers reported themselves amenable to applying the new knowledge gained by them. The Indian space program remained committed to the goal of using satellite for educational purposes. In September 2004, India launched EduSat, which was the first satellite in the world built exclusively to serve the educational sector. EduSat is used to meet the demand for an interactive satellite-based distance education system for India. Reasons for failure. NASA shifted its ATS satellite away from India despite demands from Indian villagers, journalists and others. Decline in viewership was overall 15%. Faults developing the television equipment. The television sets were too big. Failure in electricity supply and hardware defects. 1/3 of the villagers' preoccupation with domestic or agricultural and 1/4 missed it because of indifferent health and fatigue. The loss of viewing days was greater in Bihar, Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh than in other 3 states. Out of the development program, 2/5 of the program's telecast dealt with agriculture, nearly 1/3 with health. The program content sometimes was not tallying the local context. 87% were willing to try these practices with the telecast information, while the rest of them asked for supplementary information. The departmental extension machinery did not adequately participate in the TV programs, nor did it perform its supporting role. Ethics of science journalism. The ethics of science journalism include both standard journalistic ethics and recognizing the particular issue that arise in the context of science. Science journals have a legitimate role in science and should feel confident in interviewing scientists about their research. While science is global, its impacts and application can be local. Working between the global and the local means covering as broad as a range of stories as possible and seeing local stories as part of the global story of science. Science communication sometimes can be a very contentious matter as the various norms and inspiration of a huge number of groups or activities for supremacy. Similarly, journalists and scientists must argue over the best way to simplify complex ideas for a non-expert audience or disagree over what angle a news story should take. Science communicator most of the time face challenges to answer some quite philosophical questions on nature of democracy, expertise and scientific realism. Scientific and journalistic aims may differ, but there are techniques that can minimize conflict and create rapport. Science journalists have a legitimate role to play in the interviewing people. Science communicators need to consider how scientific knowledge connects with indigenous knowledge. They should identify good and bad science and learn how to distinguish real science news from corporate spin through an introduction to science in the social context and the scientific method. They learn how to recognize the key ingredients for a good science story in the news, feature and current affairs. They learn how to appropriately balance conflicting views, including those involving indigenous knowledge. Science communicators should learn about the qualities of effective science journalism, such as considering the audience, researching the topic, asking the right questions, considering different points of view. Science communicators should learn the importance of understanding how to make these science relevant and appealing to the audience, particularly poor urban and rural communities. Science communicators also learn basic skills in interpreting statistics, probability estimates, and data from scientific research. Science communicators should discuss issues in reporting levels of risk and technical uncertainty and how to best deal with these issues. Science communicators should consider the rights and responsibilities and gain confidence to report science in a critical and analytical way. They should discuss the rights and responsibilities of the scientists as interviewed. Science communicators should have an effort to accurate and unbiased in their professional work, including verifying the accuracy of their information, checking resources, credentials, and any potential conflicts of interest. While there are instances when anonymous sources are necessary, these should be few and carefully considered. Science communicators should refrain from discrimination based on race, religion, age, gender, ethnicity, disability, or sexual orientation. Science communicators' roles should be their own. Plagiarism is not acceptable under any circumstances. Science communicators should support the healthy exchange of views and opinions in science, but also realize when scientific principles are no longer questioned by the majority of reputable scientists involved. Science communicators should attempt to avoid any political conflict of interest with an assignment, financial or otherwise. Conflicts that are unavoidable should be disclosed. Science communicators should immediately admit publicly disseminated mistakes and make every effort to correct them. So, in conclusion, the 6 essays: effective science communication needs growing scientific culture in the society, inculcating scientific temperament in the society, penetrate science habit in the society, spontaneous science acceptance in the society, respect for indigenous science, and identification of science and religion. Thank you.